Alrighty, good afternoon everybody and welcome to Respond to Leads Faster with Einstein Chatbots. My name is Michael Roberts. I'm a solution engineer here at Salesforce. So I've been part of the Salesforce family here for the last 5 years. I'm based in Chicago, or you probably can't tell from my accent, I'm not from Chicago. I spent most of that time in Sydney, and most of the time I've been focusing particularly on B2B marketing automation. So great to be with you. Is this your first Trailhead DX? Awesome, welcome. It's actually mine as well. This is probably the first Salesforce conference I haven't been to, so I'm really excited to be here, particularly with our developer community. But I want you to kind of think for a moment, who here has had an example of a situation where you've been on a website, you've tried to find something from maybe a company you might buy from, but you give up. You just can't find the information you're looking for. Who's had that experience? Yep, a few of us. And something that we see very common, in fact, we did some research with our friends at Drift, and here are some of the common reasons we see for frustrations around digital experiences, particularly. Top of that is actually around site navigation, which is something particularly for those of you who look after UX design in the room. But also, I think the next one is actually can't find those answers to simple questions. That is something that I think is really challenging, that the information you need to be able to solve that particular consumer's problem is not right in front of them. I think one of the things I've been really big advocate for over the last couple of years is thinking about jobs to be done. So if any of you are familiar with the jobs to be done framework, you'll know that that is all about actually focusing on what is that individual trying to achieve and how do we actually create the path of least resistance to get them the right information at the right time and in the right medium as well. The next thing is around, obviously, basic details about business are too hard to find. They can't even find you in the first place, and it takes too long to actually find the information they're looking for. And overall, that actually creates a really disconnected experience. So firstly, we see on the B2B website, the average visitor to your web page comes and bounces after 1.7 pages, right? They disappear off. And there's an opportunity you had to engage with that individual to actually capture them as a lead and be able to move forward. But then the second part of that as well is actually that your sales teams are not doing a great job of doing follow-up effectively either. On average, Harvard Business Review, it suggests that it's between 42 to 48 hours in which that we see someone takes to respond to a lead. And that's if they respond at all. So Forbes also did some research that suggests in particularly lower performing organizations that only 27% of leads are actually ever followed up. Is anyone here in the marketing role in the room? Is anyone a marketer? Does this kind of resonate with you? You feel like the sales teams are not doing a great job of following up on the leads that you have spent hard-earned dollars to actually collect? So that's something that we see as a massive challenge. And that time crunch is really critical. So Forbes reports, if you respond to someone in the first hour, you're more than 6 times likely to get a hold of them versus them being able to respond in the next hour beyond that. So even that first hour is so critical. If you keep going on that particular path, and actually think about, you wait more than 24 hours, the chances of you actually getting a hold of that lead decrease 60 times. And so being able to respond with the inside a really fast critical medium is really important in thinking about that B2B lead follow-up time. So how do we think about this? And this is the kind of typical lead generation journey that someone goes on. They land on the website, they fill out a form, we pass them across to Sales Cloud as a CRM, assuming that they're marketing qualified at that point. And then you have this like backwards and forwards of phone tag that goes on for days trying to find a time to do a discovery call. That's typically the experience that we have. And then we have a call, and then maybe you can't get a hold of them, and so you drop them into a nurture campaign, hoping that they're going to respond to you in some way, shape, or form. Finally, your key stakeholder finds 5 minutes to actually respond to your email, and then maybe, finally, you've got an opportunity to be able to schedule a qualifying call to be able to move forward. Maybe. So let's think about how can we start to speed up that journey? How can we make a better experience for your buyers, but also for you as a marketer and also your sales team, right? Because at the moment, we're in a situation where everybody loses. Your marketing team are not really getting recognized for the leads that they're creating. Your sales teams are not able to connect with their buyer, and your buyer has a question, a problem they're trying to solve that you maybe can be able to help them with, but they actually can't get there because of that information is not readily available to them. So this is where conversational marketing has been a really hot topic that's really evolved over the last couple of years. And so firstly, it's around being able to guide your leads to a solution they're looking for, to be able to look at their intent data coming through from third-party sources, to look at their engagement across your website, and be able to actually serve particular content recommendations which for what might be relevant to them. And I'm not just talking about lead generation here, I'm also thinking about the way that we often use this at Salesforce is particularly around service as well. So if we know a particular customer uses a particular product, we can offer the right type of solution for them. Or also think about what current products and services they have based on CRM data to be able to provide a viable upsell path, particularly to them. Secondly, being able to meet with your leads right on your website. So part of that is being able to actually have a bot conversation, be able to pass them to the right kind of content, or maybe send that information across for follow-up. But it's also being able to pass to a sales rep when appropriate. So some of you might be using Live Agent, particularly for be able to pass across for service cases. We can also do that with inside of Sales and Service Cloud for lead generation as well. And then thirdly, the important thing is that we're actually tracking your impact. So we really enable to understand the impact of what types of these conversations and your web developments are actually having on your overall story. So when I think about that, someone who comes on, you help them find a solution, particularly if it's a longer sales cycle, they're going to engage with multiple touch points, right? With your sales team, potentially with the marketing, VIP dinner, or maybe some other collateral across your website. You want to be able to understand the different touch points that someone hits to be able to go ahead and understand the impact that that's had. And the way that I think about this is kind of threefold. Firstly is to be able to know who this individual is, to have account-specific offers. You might be doing an account-based marketing approach and have particular offers which are relevant. So you can actually look up the reverse IP address to be able to understand who that individual is and be able to pop that in there. You can actually track their particular web engagement, particularly using Pardot. And then finally, we can do that lead capture piece as part of that as well by asking them to put some information into a chatbot. Or this might be actually that this bot is serviced through social media as well. On Facebook, for example, pops up on your Facebook page. Secondly, it's around understanding. So actually being able to provide those different content recommendations when you finally understand the particular problem that individual is looking to solve. And that also allows you to do lead qualification, right? So if you've been in sales at some point, everyone has had those experiences with leads. They're just absolute tire kickers. They're a waste of time. But if you actually understand the type of problem that someone is looking to solve, and you actually are able to provide them with helpful suggestions in an automated way, and they've taken up on those suggestions, then we can actually start to qualify that lead a little bit further as well. And then finally, about being able to engage. I think this is what's really different in the way that I think about marketing today, is that we've actually listened to that customer in an automated way, and then we've responded, right? We've then actually said, give us a bit more information about what you wanted to do. Let me pass you across to a sales rep because we think at this point in time, you're a qualified lead. And we can also go ahead and think about cross-sell and upsell opportunities at that point as well. So what are some of the potential impacts as we think about chatbots? And I'm talking about conversational marketing, and I want to be clear here, when we think about conversational marketing, it is not just looking at automated chatbots, right? That's a part of the story, but also your sales teams actually engaging through Sales Cloud is another significant part of that. One of the biggest things is being able to leverage and get those answers more quickly. So 24-hour service, for example, and being able to get an instant response. So you actually have a moment to strike with that individual, and we see that with those statistics around the engagement of a particular individual and how it's unlikely for us to get a hold of them after 24 hours. So here are some of the key things. And then also being able to have easy communication. The reality is a lot of individuals don't want to speak with a sales rep until they're really ready to have a conversation, right? We want to do as much research as we can before we reach out to a particular person. So there is safety and security, being able to actually maybe speak with a bot, get the right answer that we want before speaking with an individual. So think about Einstein bots for Salesforce. Typically, if you've engaged with that, we've invested significantly over the last year in Einstein bots. Mostly, it's actually been around our service user capabilities, right? Think about how do we actually help someone with a case, for example. How do we get them in touch with maybe a support team and support agent? But there are some capabilities which actually apply to Einstein bots across the platform, which we can then leverage for lead generation. Firstly, it's around being able to connect your CRM data, so be able to create those leads and provide that information relevantly. Secondly, we are able to do that qualification step, particularly by using Pardot and actually using Einstein lead scoring. We can actually look at who is the type of buyer persona that you want to market to, and does this particular individual, based on their engagement across your website, and then the information that they're provided to you, and their intent data coming through from third-party sources, actually contribute to whether this person's a right type of lead for you. Thirdly, it's about making sure this particular process is embedded back into your business, right? We want to make sure there's a seamless handoff to a sales rep at the right time to really be able to have that conversation, which is going to help them as well. And then, of course, the key thing here is very much our mantra here at Salesforce around clicks, not code. We want to make sure that you can actually go ahead and deploy this quite quickly with inside of Sales Cloud without needing to actually leverage a huge amount of code there. So I just want to give you a bit of an overview of what that solution might look like. So this is what we have here around Einstein Chatbots, for example. This is where we're looking at lead capture, content recommendations, and also the connection into Service Cloud. Once that particular step is done, we're passing across into Pardot. Pardot is doing a component around lead scoring, particularly around automated nurture. It's able to provide dynamic content based on what we know someone is looking for on the website. And then, of course, Einstein campaign insights to be able to understand which particular content is working with what audiences and whatnot. Then we think about the role that a sales rep might play, or an SDR who's qualifying this even further. This is where we use those behavior insights around what someone's engaged in across the website. And also a feature called Engage Campaign, which actually allows us to pass across particular content to an individual as needed. And then finally, we're able to look at B2B marketing analytics. So that's helping us to do that multi-touch attribution piece, and then also looking at pipeline review by channel. So I'm going to walk through a bit of an example now as what this might look like in practice to give you a bit more of a flavor. So this is a basic Linuxsoft. They create HR software, expense management software. And so we've actually got a chatbot which has popped up on the screen here, which is actually saying it's personalized it based on the account record. And it says, I'm Cody the Linuxsoft bot. What can I help you with? Making it clear. And then we've typed in that we're actually going to request a demo. With inside Einstein bots, we actually have intent data, which is helping us to actually analyze what someone is saying in their response to be able to understand what they're looking for. So we can provide clear options, but we can also provide free text input to be able to make recommendations. And we can see here it says, let me transfer you to someone who can help you with that. So once we actually put a handoff point to be able to say, if someone's requesting a demo, we want to pass that to a sales rep at the same time. But there's also maybe a situation where we don't have a sales rep online at that point in time. We have the appointments dialogue built inside of Einstein bots, which actually helps us to book an appointment. And so we can actually book an appointment for one of our SDRs to give that particular individual a call directly inside that bot right there. And you can see that we've actually got some recommendations where we've said, do you want a bit more information at this point in time? Well, we can pass someone across to a particular part of their website, but we can also ask some questions around what kind of content would be relevant to you. So I put case studies there, and this is kind of the back end of how that's built inside Einstein Chatbots. We can see here how it's kind of the next steps. It's saying showing the different responses here and the dialogue that takes place behind the scenes. We're also leveraging the flow capability inside the platform to actually go ahead and create that lead record. So this is an example here where we're actually looking to see already if that lead exists, and we're firing off this action from the Einstein chatbot to go ahead and create that lead, and we're actually checking to see if that individual is there already. If it hasn't, then we're going to assign that lead inside of Salesforce, and we've also set an email alert to actually let the individual know that they need to take an action and follow up this lead record. This is what that particular sales rep or SDR would look like and the experience inside Sales Cloud using the capabilities that Pardot's providing to them. We've got that lead score there, which is helping them to use that qualification based on the information. And we can see that actually the annual revenue is high, that we've asked questions around budget in that conversation, and that information is recorded back onto their lead score. And we can also look at their behavior around different marketing content they've engaged in to be able to understand if they're in the top or bottom quadrants of the group that we're marketing to effectively. So really giving your sales reps some data points as to around how does this person fit inside the broader leads that you're working with at that point in time. And that also includes a full lead history as well. We can also see that the campaign that's listed there is from a lead chatbot, and that's going to be really important as we start to understand the impact of this moving forward. We're also able to use that, if you remember we asked that question around, did you want more information around case studies, for example? And this is where we can leverage Engagement Studio with inside of Pardot to actually send targeted content to them. And at the right time, we can actually go ahead and create a task to go ahead and respond to them. So this is where we can actually be doing what we're doing, that lead qualification process, and also the sales process can be happening concurrently, where we're actually sending out targeted content and actually alerting our sales rep at the right time to follow up. And of course, at the same time, our sales reps have full visibility into what this journey looks like as well. And so this is an example. We've got the contact leads, and we're going to send it to that assigned user that we set up in the flow earlier on. We also have, so there's also some great reporting around that as well, that we're able to see that information there. Great. This is a reporting here where we can actually look at where that particular email is being leveraged or not, the open rate, the click-through rate, the click-to-open rate, the bounce rate, etc. And then finally, how do we tie these different touch points together? We really talked about the fact that this is a part of a broader journey, and so we can see here that chatbots are one component as part of that multi-touch attribution, where we can start to understand if that we're sending particular content to someone versus social media versus web marketing, we're able to tie all those different components together. And that information is inside the multi-touch attribution, and it's based off Salesforce campaign data as well. So the final thing I want to leave you with before we finish up today is really around the fact that you can start to extend this based on our ABM partnerships. So direct integration between Salesforce and Pardot, and on the left, you can see Drift there. Drift's focus is particularly around conversational chatbot marketing. They really have some inbuilt ABM tools as part of that to be able to make sure you're targeted based on the particular account. And you can also do some great messaging around where that particular individual has come back multiple times. I've been on their website a couple of times now, and so it's saying, hey, you're back, Salesforce. How can I help you with some more personalized messaging there? And then looking at my web behavior to pass me off to particular pieces of content. On the right-hand side is a tool called Qualify, which is also part of the Salesforce ecosystem through our App Exchange, which is actually around being able to boost that engagement call to action by allowing your sales reps to be able to see people who are online, be able to see their behavior using Pardot, and you can actually go ahead and get your sales reps can drum up a conversation there and then, including going as far as actually having a phone call directly with inside the tool and have a qualification call right there and then while they're on the website. And be able to provide those proactive chat capabilities and voice calls. Using Qualified, ThoughtSpot actually received a 200% increase in sales qualified conversations as a result, because they're able to cut down that time we talked about. We're able to, helping to guide those individuals back to content that's relevant to them and be able to cut down the amount of time it's taking to actually do follow-up by actually proactive reaching out to those individuals and setting appointment times directly on the website as well. So finally, if you have more questions, if you want to get started and think about this a little bit further, if you look on the app today, you will be able to see there are a couple of different trailhead connected in there. There are 4 that I'd strongly recommend: Einstein Chatbots Basics, Lead Generation, B2B Marketing Analytics, and then also Pardot and Lightning are probably where I would start. They're going to give you a great idea of how we can start to leverage some of this functionality as well, and the links will be in the Salesforce event app. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm going to be sticking around on my right-hand side here. So if you have further questions and want to chat through this a little bit further, I'd be really eager to chat with you. Enjoy Macklemore tonight and enjoy the rest of your time here at Trailhead DX.